What's going on? Jimmy Barr here with Turn 2 Terribles. We are here at Keen Motorsports shop here with Kyle Keen in Carlisle, PA here. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Jimmy. How are you doing?
Not too bad. We just want to talk a little bit about Kyle's history here and what's coming up in his 2023 season and beyond here. So why don't we get into your family history with racing here?
Yeah, so I think the Keane family racing history is pretty well known in the sprint car world. That's pretty much where all of our history lies, is in dirt track racing and sprint cars in general. We started with Randy Wolf in the late 70s into the 80s. And then I think my grandpa and my uncle got out of sprint car racing for a little bit. And then my dad got into super sportsmen's in the mid 90s, and he kind of worked his way up and got into a 410 sprint car right out with super sportsman late into the late 1990s. I think 1997 was his first year. And then we kind of went from there. He ran about 6 seasons as a car owner. Mark Smith was his last driver in the 53 car in 2003. And then we kind of took a little bit of a break. I think my grandpa got re-involved in sprint car racing in 2008 with Lucas Wolf. Sponsored him on the World of Outlaws Tour for his first season. He got Rookie of the Year that year at the Kevin Gobrecht Award. And from there, he followed up with establishing completely his own team. He ran from 2009 to 2012 when he died. And from there, we had guys like Brian Lepo, Darren Pittman, Tyler Walker, Todd Schaefer subbed in for a little bit, Pat Cannon. So we had some pretty notable drivers, and it was really cool history that we were able to establish with ourselves. And then once my grandpa passed away, we kind of took a break again. And luckily enough for me, I kind of met some good buddies on iRacing and got pretty good at iRacing, and decided that I thought it was time to buy my own car. I'd been watching for a long time. Obviously, my family had been involved for a long time. So I bought my own car in a 305 and just kind of took it from there.
So 358 racing now. How does that change from 305 to now?
It's a little bit different. The speed is definitely noticeable. The 305s, they're quick, but if you're running the cushion hard, you're trying to slide somebody, and you kind of run up to the cushion, they die off a little bit, which is fine. It's a great division. I'm totally glad that I started in 305s and not something else. And quite honestly, I would drive a 305 again in a heartbeat. The biggest difference for me that I noticed was how hard an H15 tire grabs on the right rear compared to a Race Saver tire, a 305. And the wing speed you grab in a 358 compared to like a 305 is a little bit different, especially on the straightaways. And dirty air plays a lot bigger factor on a 358 than it does a 305. That's something that I had noticed when I had started in 358s. The first couple of races, I was kind of like, ooh, it's a little tight on entry if I'm following somebody, or and it kind of took a while to understand, to get clean air on my nose if I'm following somebody and things like that. And the 650 700 horsepower definitely helps. When you're racing people, definitely enjoy that part. It's a good racing division, so definitely some differences. The biggest thing is motor weight for me as well. The motors are extremely heavy with the iron heads, so you kind of got to compensate for that a lot more compared to like if you had a 305 went directly to a 410. The heads are both aluminum, so you don't really realize how heavy those iron heads are until you actually have a 358.
Right. But so 358 racing now. Tell us how your season went.
Last year, 2022, it was okay. What hurt me the most was taking a year off. I ran the 2 years in the 305s. Had good nights, had bad nights. Kind of wasn't where I wanted to be when I left 305s, but we had some success. Had a couple good top threes, top fives, things like that. But 2022, it was average. I think for my first season at 358, with the amount of competition that's in that division, there's so many guys that are so experienced that I was getting schooled sometimes. I'm racing with somebody and they pull a move on me that I wasn't expecting or I didn't know it existed as a driver. But some of the finishes were there. Sometimes they weren't. Sometimes I went backwards. Sometimes I went forwards. It's definitely a learning curve. And I hadn't raced at Williams Grove ever until this past season. My first race, we were running 7th, and I did something dumb and shoved my left front into the inside wall. And it kind of looked like an idiot, spun out and broke a bunch of stuff. But Lincoln, I had raced there one time in a 305. and it was a pretty wide track, a heavy cushion, so you could rail the cushion. So I always liked that for the 358s come the end of the night. So it's been a struggle to understand what I need as a driver for my setup, and as well as where I need to be on the racetrack. Sometimes I get too committed to one lane. I need to expand my driving and try different lanes. If I'm, somebody's going high, I need to be low. If somebody's going low, I need to be high. Just trying different stuff to, try to move forward quicker. I had some good nights where I moved forward, but I'd say, for the most part, I was pretty on par with where I need to be. This season coming up, I'd like to be pushing more and have a more consistent car every night, which I think we're getting there. We found some stuff at the end of last year that kind of helped us, and I think that we're going to be able to use that towards moving forward in 2023.
So 2023, what is that? What's your season going to look like?
So we're going to try to hit all the Williams Grove stuff, and we're going to hit Lincoln here and there. We're kind of waiting on Sealands River to come out with their schedule. I've heard some rumors about some 358 stuff up there. So if they do indeed have 358s, I definitely want to explore going up there for however many races they have. So we'll supplement our schedule in with Lincoln whenever those two aren't racing, so to speak. So yeah, we'll just gonna definitely do the full Williams Grove schedule because we kind of be dumb not to since they're only 20 minutes down the road from us. So definitely love racing there. It's a great track. So that's kind of what we're looking at.
What are your goals for the season?
Be more consistent. There's times where I'd start 15th and get to 12th, or I'd start 7th and be back to 12th, or things like that. So I definitely want to improve my heat race stuff. I think that was my biggest struggle last year was moving forward in the heat or staying in my spot in the heat. Those guys are, from the drop of the green, they're on the wheel. And I think I need to be more on top of the wheel to start the night. Definitely want to knock some top 10s down more consistently, start creep in the top 5s, and, eventually consistency leads to wins. So obviously I'd like to win one if I can. But I think I would be happy in 2023 if I was able to knock down top 10s and top 5s consistently.
So beyond 2023, I know that's, kind of further out here from you didn't even get into the season yet, but what do you look at beyond that?
Well, first of all, I'd like to get more consistent in the 358. I'd like to be knocking down some wins and, consistent top 5s before I decide to try to jump up to the 410 division or anything like that. I'd like to be a more consistent driver, more aggressive. And that kind of all comes with time. I mean, realistically, I have 1 3/4 of a season at 305 and 14 races at 358. So, I mean, I think we're doing well for where we're at. I just don't have a lot of seat time. So I don't want to jump in a 410 too early and, be knocking the wall down every week and tearing my car up. So, yeah, I'd like to be prepared and be a better driver before I make that leap. But I think long term, my goal would be to hop in at 410, have a motor or two would be nice, to kind of run a full schedule somewhere at one track. But we'll kind of see where life takes us and where my racing career takes us.
Awesome. Talk about who helps you out, who gets you to the track.
Yeah, well, first of all, my dad. My dad's been a huge supporter of mine since we took the first green at Path Valley, my first race, and I flipped over. Not many people know that, but I did my first race. I think we had 15 laps to go, and I hit somebody by accident trying to run the bottom and flipped over, and we kind of tore some stuff up, and that was it was an awakening moment. I was like, oh crap, like these things are real. Like, I have to be, a little bit more careful about how I approach things. But definitely my dad. My dad's been my biggest supporter. Can't thank him enough for all he's done. I mean, he commits so much time and effort and money, and he's been helping me out. And without him, I wouldn't be able to do this. Just truthfully, I work a lot, so for him to be here during the week and working on stuff while I'm working and taking my cars to get checked or my motor to get dynoed or going to pick up parts at Dietrich's or something, he is the biggest support system that I have. And I have, Brent, obviously he's here when he can, and he's our main fabricator guy, and he is 100% committed. He wants to change his job, and so that way he can be at the races every weekend and be at the shop every night if he could. And I couldn't thank those two enough for what they do for me. I mean, they would drop anything. They would drop the top of their hat and go and help me if I asked them to at any point. And that's hard to find. Commitment like that is hard to capture, because just everybody has crew troubles and things like that. But I'm very fortunate to have my dad and Brent here helping me out. Matt Schaefer pops in occasionally. He's a good buddy of mine. He lives down in Biglerville. He has a pretty busy full plate himself. So when he tries to come down and help when he can, and he goes to the track when he can. And anytime he's there, I always feel relieved because he always makes sure my wheel nuts are tight. So I don't have to ask anybody if, hey, are my wheels tight? Because that's like my biggest thing. When I get in the car, I'm strapped in, get my helmet on. I always look at my dad or one of my crew guys and I'm like, hey, are my wheels tight? As long as my wheels don't fly off, I'm good. So, my buddy Levi, he comes around and helps every once in a great while. He just had a kid. So, he tries to make it when he can. And obviously you guys are always there supporting me. So can't thank you enough for that. It's always cool when I'm rolling around idling at like any of the tracks and you guys are in the infield, just cheering me on. That's all it pumps me up. So, without you guys and my dad and Brent and my other guys in my support system, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
All right, so we're here inside your trailer. Got to see a little bit of the outside of it. Give us a little bit of a story on the trailer here.
So the wrap on the outside of the trailer is actually Parlette from, I believe, around the 2003 era. When she got out of sprint car racing around that time, my uncle had bought it and he kept it when he was racing here and there up till like 2010. And then from 2010 on till now, it had sat in my uncle's yard and it had totally trashed the inside. So we spent all of last winter replacing this entire interior, putting things where we wanted it, things like that. And the wrap has been the last thing that we haven't had the energy to take off yet because it's so caked on and because it's so old. It's not like it's just going to peel right off like, a 1-year-old vinyl would.
Right.
So we just haven't summoned up the energy and the time to try to get this thing off. So for now, Ashley's going to keep riding with us until we decide to finally really get after it. It may take a couple weeks, but so that's a little bit of the story about that.
Cool. All right, Chris here, Turn 2 Terribles, sitting here with Shawn Keen. We're going to talk a little bit about your racing history.
Yep. So my racing history goes back to 1980. My dad, Jesse Keane, and my uncle Bill decided to own and sponsor a super sportsman. So they hooked up with Larry Jackson, which was in his second or third year super sportsman at Silver Springs. And they were very successful for 2 years. They won 8 races each year at Silver Springs, which was a tough place. Won a 100-lapper 1 year together. And then my dad and my uncle decided they wanted to go big boy racing. They asked Larry Jackson if he'd wanted to race a full sprint car in Central PA. He's like, no. So at the time, Alan Kreitzer and his dad were in charge of Silver Springs. They went to Alan and said, do you know somebody in we'll call it the 410 world now, looking for a ride? And he's like, yeah, my sister's husband, Randy Wolf. So in 1982, that's how Randy Wolf got in the Keane car, was through Alan Kreitzer and family. And they raced together, and I helped on that car. Did everything from scrubbing floors to filling fuel jugs till 88. In between there, I ran a 100cc go-kart with my cousin, Mark Zimmerman, who raced at Silver Springs and some sprint car stuff. We raced 100cc go-kart at like Hunterstown, Banana, which I think is Greenwood Speedway now. And then in 88, my dad and my uncle quit. They were done trying to grow the business and do a little more with the Keene Transport side. They sponsored with a truck and trailer Joey Kuhn that year with Barry Jackson. I helped a little bit there. And then I was out of it till 94 when I went super sportsman racing. So 94 to 97, I raced at Silver Springs in the super sportsman. And then in 97, I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't a great driver at Silver Springs, was always in the top 15 of points, but, never won. So I went 410 sprint car racing.
Right into it.
Right into 410 sprint car racing, yep.
You race Williams Grove mostly? Or?
Yeah, so we raced 97 to 2002. We raced pretty much like the guys do today. Williams Grove every Saturday night or Friday night. Port Royal, Selinsgrove. At that time in the late 90s, Selinsgrove would run on Saturday nights too. So the first 2 years we ran at Selinsgrove on Saturday nights, and then we went to Port Royal. Selinsgrove then went to Sunday nights, and there was a couple years we run 3 nights a week. And then you would do, in the middle of summer, you do Grandview, you would do Western Speed Week. In 2000, we had a 2-car team. Skip Jackson from Australia drove for me. And I think that year we did 125 races. And we worked full time.
That's a lot. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So what's one of your favorite memories from the driving days, I would say, for you?
Probably my first and only win. It was really cool because there's a picture hanging in the garage. My dad was there. So that was really cool to have him, especially that he's not with us anymore. That even means more to me now than anything. Probably even more is just the friends and the camaraderie I've gained over 30, 40 years. You know, you can pick up the phone and call anybody in sprint car world today, and they act like they've known you for 34 years because they have. I loved racing around here. People don't realize throughout the country, like, I got to know a lot of people out at Knoxville, Iowa. Like, they race Knoxville on Friday night or Saturday night. They want to go race Houston on Saturday night. It's a 4.5-hour drive. Like, we're spoiled. It's an hour at most to go anywhere. And that is what makes us lucky to be in this area. All of us, from fans to racers.
Sure. So what's one of the cool things now with Kyle starting his racing and you kind of helping him on that adventure? How's that like?
I love it. It keeps me involved in sprint car racing. Keeps me around with all the people, and I love helping him succeed. You know, my whole goal is make him faster, make him more consistent. You know, take care of a car that won't break on the racetrack.
Sure.
If we do that, then we're successful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If you're at the shop, there's an old Peterbilt sitting out front. You want to tell us a little bit what that is and what's your plans for that?
So one of Kyle's sponsors, Terry Schechter, and I've been friends with him since he worked for Keen's back in the 80s. We were good friends. We've been good friends for a long time. He contacted me a year ago and said, hey, I know where there's an old Keen Transport cab over Peterbilt. And back in the 70s and 80s, we always ran cab overs just with the length laws they had. So it took a while, but I finally got a hold of the guy, and I found it in Lititz, PA, outside in Lancaster. And my wife and I went down and looked at it, and I was like, I don't know, it's a lot of work. And my wife's like, you got to get it. She's been supportive through sprint car racing and all my endeavors. And we ended up buying it, and a good friend of mine that I've been friends with since I was a little toddler, John Jennings, who worked for Keane, he still does 50 years later. He took his truck and a Keene trailer, and we went and picked up the Peterbilt. It's a 1984 362 cab over Peterbilt with a Cummins in it. It was a Keene truck. It was new in the fall of 84. I don't know how fast I'll get it restored, but my goal is to completely restore it, front to back, engine, transmission, the whole thing. Sandblast, paint the frame, paint the engine, put a custom paint job. The old Keene 70s paint job they used to put on cab overs. That's what I want to do the cab with. And then I'd like to pull the race car trailer with it.
That'd be awesome.
So it'd be a little something different pulling in the racetrack.
Definitely awesome.
Yeah.
2023, what are your sponsors looking like?
Yeah, start with Gearhead Coffee. Been drinking that coffee since the day they came on board with us, and it's absolutely outstanding. I recommend the 427 Stroker, the medium roast.
Okay.
Crush it every day. Keen Parts, SquareParts.net with Tom Keen and TJ out of Cleves, Ohio. Great people. They sponsor a lot of race car stuff, NASCAR, me, other guys in grassroots stuff. So can't thank them enough for what they do. Shetron Auction Equipment. Wicked Dog Grill out of Selinsgrove, PA. They obviously do Wicked Dogs and sausages and burgers. If you guys are ever in the Selinsgrove area, highly recommend. Go in there and grab a dog and talk to Jeff, the Wicked Dog owner. He's a little crazy, but we all love him. Jay-Z Photography. He's been supplying all my pictures this past year. Can't thank him enough for everything he does for me. Not just with pictures, but promotional stuff, and just overall great friend. Couldn't do this without him either. We got HRF, Heisman Racing Fuel. They're out of Carlisle, Newville area. They deliver fuel right to our shop every year. Been using them since the day I started. Can't thank Adam and Dwayne enough for what they do for me. They're great people, and I highly recommend using their fuel. They get me to the track every week. Coils Lawn Care and Maintenance out of, I think he's out of Carlisle this year, yeah. He's going on the Outlaw Tour with CJB Motorsports, and super excited for him. He's on a new learning year this year, so can't thank Eric enough for helping me out. Even when he comes back, when he's not there with those guys, he's helping me out, so he's a great guy. Fine Line Auto Body, Jake Rodaball, he's been helping me out since I started as well. He helps so many people with racing, and not just me. paint my tanks, paint anything I need. He's on demand, and can't thank Jake enough. He sponsors tracks, sponsors other guys. Just a good guy. Dustin Lehman Construction, he's another one that started with me since 2019, the day I started racing. Another guy does concrete work, kind of anything in general. Just give him a call. He'll definitely hook you up with whatever you need. Dublin Gap Ranch in Grant Bilbrey out of Newville, great guy. Also supported me since I started racing as well. And To Be Wrapped with Brett Clark helped me out with so much, especially this year with the scheme we got going on. And he's a good guy. He does amazing design work, and his vinyl is outstanding. It's stuck on my car, which is surprising because as much as the stuff as I hit last year, you think, well, that stuff will fly off. So. But that's everybody. Can't thank them enough for all their support. So yeah.
Hinted a little bit about the wrap. I know you showed a preview online. It's not here yet, but it will be soon. Tell us a little bit about it and the history of it.
So the scheme we're doing for 2023 is a throwback of a Brian Lepo car from 2012. I know we had a lot to choose from as far as my family history and throwback cars, and I kind of asked the fans, the people that follow my page, and what they wanted to see if I did change my scheme, because I originally, until late December, early January, was going to do the same scheme as last year, just because it's cost effective. I had to change wings and be ripping vinyl off and put new vinyl on. But I felt like this year was a good year to honor my grandfather and what he did. So we took the 2012 car with Brian Lepo and kind of wanted to extend that into this season, because I felt like since that was the year he passed on May 4th, in 2012, that car kind of had some unfinished business. I mean, all the other ones made it full seasons. So I kind of wanted to give this car a full season just because I thought it was special to me. And that was the year I started to really get really close with him. It was an untimely passing, and just like to do that for him is something that, I know he would want to see on the track. So that's, the main reason why we picked that scheme over, I'd love to do one with my dad, like the 53 car, and we'll have plenty of opportunities to do that, I'm sure. But just because of what my grandpa's done for me and for my dad, we felt like we needed to continue that one on for one more season.
It's a great deal.
Yeah.